Never say die, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And welcome to our 40th anniversary retrospective podcast on one of the most seminal and just beloved action adventure films of the 1980s. That's right, folks. We're talking Goonies. Do the truffle shuffle.
Do a truffle shuffle.
Come on, Chuck. Oh, God. Dragon, I have a question for you in regards to Family Guy Goonies references. Was Family Guy, because I know that there's a Goonies reference where it was basically like
there's several Goonies references.
Well, yeah, I know, but like one of them that I tried to look up that I couldn't find was basically like one character's quoting like, you see, we're living up here, or like they're living up here in our time. This is our time down here. And a character's like, did you just quote Goonies? Dragon, do you know what that's from?
Well, see, they throw me off that because in American Dad they did like a whole Goonies parody episode, but that's more that's the thing. That's more like a direct Goonies thing. That's not like just like, wait, did you just quote Goonies? It sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds. I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue.
In Family Guy, they had two. There were two go-to. There are three. Sorry, between Family Guy, American Dad, and Ted, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 references to Goonies.
Was it Ted?
What?
This is our time down here.
No. Okay, look, here are the Goonies references I can call to mind. Okay, you had like Peter Griffin making Chunk do the truffle shuffle. Do that truffle shuffle. We had Meg forced to feed Sloth.
Yes.
In Ted, I believe the Johnny basically I think it was Ted too. He was on the stand and he basically had it was like a line about calling Steven Tyler like a Goonies looking monster.
Oh God, okay.
Basically comparing him to Sloth. And then of course American Dad, you had basically Steve Smith doing a remake of the Goonies, and he did the whole like he's basically the Sean Astin character. He was Mikey doing the whole "It's our time down here."
All right, anyone in the comments know what the hell I'm talking about? Anyways,
again, basically, the reference being, wait, do you just quote Goonies?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so Dragon, how do you feel about this one? What are your thoughts?
So Goonies, 80s classic, was kind of my blind spot. It didn't at the time. I didn't appreciate it in its time, but of course it made a huge comeback with the advent of Stranger Things, which now finally has an ending coming up. I love Richard Donner, and I love that he made this. And this is him between franchises. This is him pre-Lethal Weapon. This is him. He just did. He did a movie for fun. And it shows, this is a delight. The best way I can sum up the Goonies is it's like a delightful home movie, or like a summer camp experience caught on film. That's kind of what it feels. Very kind of by the bootstraps, with a budget and like very competent. Here's the thing. Goonies is a goofy kids movie made by the best that Hollywood had to offer at a very high quality. And it's like, I'm not, at the end of the day, looking back at movies, I'm still not blown away by it, but again, it's so darn cool and charming as all get out. I mean, there's a lot to appreciate and a lot to love and a lot to appreciate about it. It's just, it's not my go-to Richard Donner movie. It feels, again, it's in this weird space because he and Spielberg kind of co-directed this movie, and in that respect, it feels more Spielberg than it does Donner, but it does have there's a lot of Donner in the DNA.
Feels so Spielberg. That's the thing. It's such an Amblin movie, and it's not even Amblin.
That's the thing, where again it's in this weird gray area, and that's kind of the thing with Goonies, where again it's so. There's
I do see Steven Spielberg Presents right there, so I assume it was Amblin. Well, my bad.
Anyway, but yeah, you see what I'm saying. Well, Spielberg produced it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, But you see what I mean, though? It's just like I really appreciate Goonies. I won't say I'm of all the. It was my '80s blind spot in the fact in the sense like there's so many other '80s movies I would go to before Goonies, and that's not a detriment to Goonies. It's just I just wasn't there for it. Like I didn't imprint on it. But again, there's looking back on there's just so much that I just really love that Donner did make a kids movie, and it was a really good kids movie, you know.
Yeah. So, Dragon, you and I actually have like remarkably similar experiences with this movie. I remember watching this movie a few times in middle school, and I assume it was one of those situations where teachers hung over, so let's put on a movie. But I gotta tell you, when I watched it in middle school, like I remember the class being super into it, and I had never even heard of it before. So it was one of those things where like a lot of kids in the class had already seen it, had probably grown up with it, and I was like, what is this? I gotta tell you, the movie did not make a good first impression on me because, and this is a very distinct memory that I have, the music score in the beginning with the car chase just felt so over the top, so bombastic, and I was kind of at that cynical period in my life where it's like, Spielberg does nothing but make sappy kids stuff. And what is this? What is this twee music over a car chase? I don't like this. So really, I never gave it that much of a chance. Like, I didn't really get all that into it. And of course, I knew the references. You know, I know Sloth. I know the quotes and everything. Obviously, I know the Truffle Shuffle. And this cast is just dynamite. And this is one of those casts, like, of course, we'd have to do something. You know, we'd have to write off Feldman. But generally speaking, especially with Ke Quan kind of having the resurgence he's having, Dragon, I would honestly kind of love to see an adult reunion of the Goonies. It doesn't even have to be a movie. It could be like a half-hour TV special or something. I don't know. But I got to tell you, rewatching it, I do really appreciate it. I'm in the same boat that you're in, where it's like I can't say that I actively love this, but I appreciate it a lot, and I could totally see how kids that grew up with it in the era that it came out would just absolutely eat it up. I mean, I feel like this is kind of like in that same vein of E.T., where it just, you know, it's a little bit more ambitious than E.T. as far as like, because with what we always talk about with E.T. is that they make like a whole world out of like a few blocks of suburbs and some forest. And this is like, you know, this is like basically like, what if there was a hidden cave system under the E.T. suburbs, essentially? That's what we get here. But I do really like the cast, as I said. One thing about the movie, just from an editing point of view, that kind of it doesn't really click with me, is there's a lot of overlapping audio, and I don't really think the sound mixing is all that great here. A lot of the kids, I feel like Donner did that to have it be naturalistic, where the kids are kind of talking over each other a lot of the time, but it makes it a little bit hard to follow the dialogue in certain moments when all the kids are kind of talking over each other. That being said, I mean, I do think this is a very, very like seminal movie. I mean, I can't imagine like the 80s lineup of classic 80s stuff without this thing. It's up there for me. I mean, I would say, I mean, you know me, Dragon, I have my thing with Ghostbusters. Like, I would say I like this more than Ghostbusters as far as
I still think you get in your head about Ghostbusters. I think it's just really you just take the movie on its own. I don't know. You don't have to factor in like the whole legacy of it, the whole fan base and everything. I don't know.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, if I were to choose one or the other, I would probably definitely choose this. But two different movies though. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, yeah, I'm looking forward to breaking it down. I think there's a lot to go over here. Okay, we have Kogias in the comments. He says, I love and miss Richard Donner. He gave us the world's best adaptation of Superman.
Oh, yeah.
That there's ever been, and he helped start the popularity of superhero films.
Absolutely.
Indeed, indeed. However, I'm not a big fan of the Goonies. I don't think that the story and characters are very interesting. I prefer the Teen Titans Go Back.
See, he could just leave at the first part.
Yeah, if he stopped there, it would have been fine.
You know, just figures.
All right. Isn't there talk of a sequel being made? I don't
That
know.
okay, so that's
Yeah.
accurate.
Okay, I mean, if there is, then yeah, I would definitely be into that. And it's one of those. It's one of the few legacy sequels that I think could actually really work. And then Kogias also says Ghostbusters is a brilliant, timeless film. Well, what do you know, Kogias? That's a take of yours that's not hot. I have the hot take for once. Aha! The shoe's on the other foot, sir. All right. Anyways, Dragon, why don't you hit us with some background?
All right, so this is okay, so this is so post Gremlins, Spielberg. He's really getting into the groove of producing movies. I don't know if Gremlins was his first kind of like one of the first movies that he kind of produced, but it was like kind of in that early phase of kind of the Steven Spielberg presents.
Was it Poltergeist the first?
I believe so. That's why I'm uncertain. I want
Uh-huh.
to say it depends on what year Poltergeist came out because Gremlins was
And you had
pretty
the
early.
Don Bluth stuff around the same time as well.
Yeah, so it was a lot of but they again, Gremlins was pretty early. I think Gremlins was '84. So again,
Gremlins could have been the first for sure.
Assuming Gremlins, like that's assuming Poltergeist came before '84, then I would anyway. Point being, post Gremlins, Spielberg's in a groove. He's producing movies. He's having a grand time of it. And they get Spielberg just having fingerprints on some of the great works of the '80s, like Back to the Future, for example. So he really liked Chris Columbus, who wrote Gremlins. He was very very integral in the making of the Gremlins movie, and he Columbus wrote the script for the Goonies, and Spielberg saw it and he saw great potential in it. So this kind of started a number of events, like Spielberg in terms of searching for directors and projects. He loved Richard Donner's work and he wanted to work with him. So he basically pitched him on the movie, and Donner was like, basically like, I would love to work with you. What do you have in mind? And he says, okay, well, he presents him the Goonies script, like, okay, this is different. I haven't really done this before. And like I said, Donner, again, in what happened with Superman, Donner, in a sense, he kind of, I'm not going to say he burned bridges, but I mean, that was a big franchise he turned down, and just kind of rebuffing, kind of bumping heads with the studio the way he did, justifiably, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
They, the Salkinds, they were taskmasters. They didn't let him, they didn't give him space. He's very publicly, kind of like was very blunt about it, just saying, you know what, I don't like the Salkinds. They're a pain. I just want to make my movies. So at this time, Richard Donner is doing the occasional big movie, and then he's just kind of like, he's directing TV and he's directing all over and directing kind of small projects that basically, in their time, didn't quite find an audience until years later. So in doing these smaller films, so again, this is before the '80s boom with him. We're basically the back half of the '80s, which I would argue Goonies kickstarted for him. Basically, the success of Goonies, I think, is what put Donner back in like the eye of like, oh man, we got to give
Oh
Donner
yeah,
more
definitely.
projects.
That's definitely what led to some of this '90s stuff for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Plus, like the later '80s, like I don't think we get Lethal Weapon without Goonies. Going to
Mm-hmm.
give him the guy some juice. But anyway, so Spielberg and Donner, this is so adorable. Okay, so Steven Spielberg and Richard Donner, they go on a road trip together in a
Oh my
van,
god.
and essentially,
Dragon, I
in a
want you
man.
to know I'm trying to come up with a stand-up bit that involves Spielberg and Lucas basically being like an old married couple. So I'm
Oh, we
trying to
have
get
that.
real for that.
That should be John Williams.
Yeah, but I do the George Lucas voice really good, so like it's got to be Lucas for the
well,
impression of it
well,
all.
you got the jails for it.
Like, wow. Okay.
So anyway, so what was it? All right, okay. So they're going on a road trip in a van down by the river. I'm not far off. It's not down by a river, but they're
Down
going
by the
across.
harbor.
Yeah, they're doing this cross country trip across the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they're just kind of like going through the seaside towns, and they're kind of like experiencing them and just kind of like staying in motels and just kind of like going really kind of experience and taking in the towns. It's really fun from the sounds of it. And they arrive in Astoria, Oregon, and basically it's like pouring rain. They kind of stay the night at a motel, and the next morning their plan is going on their merry way. But they kind of notice, oh man, the sunrise is beautiful here. and they kind of like you get enamored with the character of the town. That's what sold them.
Nice.
So it was like they just fell in love with location because they had their story. They just needed like a seaside, kind of town. They could like with the Goonies docks they could use, and this story was the winner, and it all just kind of fell into place. Majority of the young cast, the ingenues, if you will, new and starting out. We had Corey Feldman, not just Corey Feldman. So Corey Feldman was honestly one of the most of the bunch was probably the most established, along with
definitely out of the kids,
Well, along with Ki Kwai Kwan, like they were the two ones with credits under their names. And mind you, Ki Kwai Kwan was mostly short round. That was pretty much like the big role that he had.
We'll get into. I love Ki Kwai Kwan in this movie. We'll get into it.
So he basically kind of inherited that role from working with Spielberg. He was kind of the carry-on luggage of Spielberg in this case.
Right.
But Feldman at this point in time, I want to say the big one he had directly before this was Gremlins. So I think Gremlins was his debut. If not, then he also had Friday the 13th. Those are the two big acting credits he had in conjunction with this. These are the big three of the '80s were those three films. So when he auditioned for this movie, he went. This is how he met Corey Haim.
Oh yeah.
Corey Haim was up for the part, and that was their first. That was the first encounter of the two Coreys.
Oh God!
It's like that cover of The Flash where they're both running to save the lady with the wall between them.
Oh man.
Anyway, so this is Josh Brolin's first movie, believe it or not. So the very first we see is Baby Brolin, if you will.
He's got such a Mike from E.T. energy to him in this movie.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's Mike with a bandana.
And ironically enough, his little brother is Mike in this movie.
Mikey.
Right.
Little Mikey. So let's see. So Donner and Spielberg, like I said, practically co-directed the movie. Spielberg, great with kids. Donner got a little overwhelmed by the kids. He individually, he loved them famously. He's able to direct them, really connect with them individually. But as a group, they're very rambunctious. It's pretty much what you see on screen. They could get loud. They could, Again, these are all kids like essentially the first time acting. Of course, I'm sure Feldman got a little full of himself, having a few credits under his name. I'm the kid.
You could just tell Feldman had a little bit of an ego on the set. He has that vibe to him.
I mean, he was still beloved at this point in time. Mind you, Feldman has a lot of issues we don't have time to get into right now.
Of course.
The point being, this is like I'm saying, this is before all that, but he's on the press. You got to remember, after this movie is when he gets the ego and things start going south for him. So I'm saying this is like right before the bottom drops out for him. Anyway, but he still loved these kids. Really, he even as a group. I mean, they were rambunctious, but he loved this project, and he really he went to bat for these kids. To the point where he surprised the kids on set. Someone really wanted to visit the set, especially because I think he's really loved Spielberg and his work, so he really wanted to drop by. Michael Jackson visited the set to surprise everyone.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard something about this. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a deleted scene in this movie that famously the footage got lost. Like this was shot, but it was lost.
This is like a big urban legend. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently, this is confirmed by the. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was confirmed by Donner. He's spoken about it personally. I would believe it's less urban legend when words it's real. They shot the gorilla scene. So essentially, when they were messing with all the pipes down there, they accidentally caused an escape at the zoo, and we would cut to see what's going on up top. And there was this gag where the gorillas escaped. Basically, mainly the gorilla exhibit. The gorillas escaped the zoo, and they hijacked the bully's car. They jumped into Troy's car, and they drove off with. So they shot scenes with guys in gorilla suits, as well as going to an actual zoo. And I believe the belief was, they didn't explicitly say this, but just given that Jackson was on the set, I think they talked about the monkey. I think the idea Bubbles was going to cameo in the zoo.
Oh man.
So Anyway, of course, Corey Feldman, he of all the kids, he was enamored by Michael Jackson. He loved oh my God, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, So they shot. So this they used the ET logic in how they shot this. Probably Spielberg's suggestion. The idea that they shot it linearly so they could kind of build upon the experience for the young actors. So when they get to the ship, it's their first reaction to seeing
Sure,
that ship
sure.
after
Yeah.
everything they went. Yeah, they're getting cold, wet, and sick during the making of this thing because it's subterranean. There's water everywhere. It's kind of it's I mean it's miserable. They're the spirits are lifted, but it's like it's not exactly like an easy shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, film became a classic. Made a really good chunk of change. Speaking of which, chunk, fun little factoid,
Okay.
really heartwarming factoid to end on here. Okay, Chunk years later, in adulthood, lost the weight.
Yeah, I saw that he didn't really have. This is like one of his few acting credits. He didn't really do much after
Yeah,
this.
that's the thing. He retired from child
Uh-huh.
stardom pretty early. I don't know if he did
Yeah.
anything. He did a few bit parts after this. So the idea is he was getting typecast as Chunk pretty much in
Right.
everything that
Right.
was in. I'm sure I don't know if that disenfranchised him or not, but what he did was so he this is really sweet. He shared this after the man's passing. He he went to law school, and Richard Donner paid his college tuition.
Oh, that's really nice.
And it was like a big surprise thing for him too, where basically like he basically asked Donner for like, hey, you give me like a letter of recommendation because he wanted to be an entertainment lawyer, so that's just kind of the field that he specialized in. And Donner also kind of helped him out by giving him some like connects and made him production assistant on something here and there. So he helped him along the way, and it's this like big surprise, like hey, Laura and I, his wife,
Mhm.
Laura Shuler Donner and I, we're gonna pay your college tuition. And it was like never asked for anything back. It wasn't like a loan or anything. He just outright paid, just like Denzel with Chadwick Boseman. It's really
Mhm. Nice, nice.
just really it's really sweet. Just how nice a guy Dick Donner was. He would just and he get nothing in return. It's beautiful.
All right. Okay, so where do you want to start?
Well, I guess the place to start. So the opening of the movie kind of embodies the
I'm
spirit of Rube
curious how
Goldberg.
you feel about like I honestly still to this day think the score is a little much in the opening.
Okay, well,
Am I
first
just
off,
crazy?
well, I don't know. I was going to mention, I was going to highlight the Rube Goldbergian nature of things, but
Uh-huh.
okay. Um, here's the thing. This is what plays into the kind of the cheesy thing. It does feel like the music feels like a cheesy kind of like underscoring to what's going on, where it feels like,
Right, right.
yeah, it feels there's a lot overly whimsical. Well, not whimsical is the wrong word, but I
No,
know
I
you know
think
what I mean
whimsical is
though.
a decent that's a decent adjective for it.
Because it's not, I don't know, it's not schmaltzy, but it's something kind of in the line of schmaltz.
Uh-huh.
It's not schmaltz, but it's very much like we're overplaying like youthful exuberance.
Right, right, exactly, exactly.
If youthful exuberance had a musical theme, it would be this. But it's kind of in conjunction with what I'm trying to get at with the opening. Here's that the
Uh-huh.
opening of the movie is in the spirit of kind of Rube Goldberg, which is all throughout the movie with the booby traps and
Sure,
everything, and
sure.
how everything works. So it's kind of like it's kind of a more choreographed kind of like to the plot and the introduction to the characters than the Pee Wee Herman Rube Goldberg breakfast, which is great. I'm just saying that's different. That's like that's an awesome sequence versus like we're kind of stringing together a lot of like character introductions with our Rube
Which
Goldberg sequence.
honestly, I do. That is the part of the opening that I really appreciate is the fact that like we get just little glimpses of all the characters. Like even if it's just like a couple seconds, it's like okay, we've established everyone who's going to be a player here in this little just in this chase scene going
Yeah,
through the neighborhood.
we meet all of our Goonies, and none of them, with the exception of Chunk, see the action,
Right, right.
which is important given that Chunk is the chubby boy who cried wolf.
Sure, sure. All right, really quick, Dragon. We got Eli from Little Blue Productions in the comments. He's saying 1985 was a big year for Donner. This and Lady Hawk. Are you familiar with Lady Hawk? I'm not really.
Unfortunately, no. All I know is it was like one of those cult. It was kind of a cult sensation in terms of
Nice.
like years later. That's what I was alluding to. It years later, it found an
Mhm.
audience. At the time, not so lucky.
We should look into
Mind
that.
you, its competition was like Back to the Future. So I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And then we got Richard's victims in the comments. Glad to see you again, man. He's saying it's 80 schmaltz, but a very specific type of schmaltz in regards to the music. And yeah, I can definitely sign off on that. It's a very specific, like you said, Dre, I think you put it well, where it's just like, oh boy, it's childhood whimsy personified. All right. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's keep going. Oh, okay. So, okay, got it. So let's see. I will say, Dragon, as fun as the Rube Goldberg machine is at the just to open the gate, I think it's a little impractical. Like, I do like that it does set up the fact that we are going to be getting like all these Rube Goldberg things, but like, I don't know, man. I think between the two, like, obviously the Pee Wee breakfast is more like I think.
Well, yeah, look, there's no topping the Pee Wee breakfast, okay?
Well, what I'm saying is, like, I think it's fun. It's just like, it's a little bit like, okay, like, really, guys, like with Pee Wee, like, it makes all the sense in the world that Pee Wee would have something like that to make his breakfast. With this, it's kind of like, okay, kids, you're going a little over the top with the inventions, you know.
It still cracks me up that that Pee Wee went through all of that, and he only eats like 2 bites of cereal from that breakfast.
That's a great gag.
That's always just cracks me up.
Same sense of humor where, like, you know, where he does the Paul Rubens did the longest kiss in cinematic history.
Yeah.
Pee Wee's Big Top.
God.
God.
Anyway, but also we should talk about with the introduction to. I love the Fratellis have a really crafty escape, but the whole faking the suicide and the fire trail was really.
Which, by the way, that's a really dark opening for a kids movie. Just like prison cell, guy hanging himself. Like they weren't fucking around with these PG kids movies.
This is what I'm saying. That's the Donner. That's the Donner versus the Spielberg right there.
Right,
okay.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's like tonally inconsistent. I'm just
saying,
like,
if they were to ever do a remake, they would not have that as the way that they escaped the prison at the start.
Yeah. Anyway, again, that's just kind of like, I like that not tonally inconsistent though. It just feels like that's the tone that we're striking.
Sure, yeah.
Anyway, but look, as far as the Rube Goldberg like in design, I think it makes sense because of Data. It's the main reason it makes sense that between that and just like maybe just some like kind of a whimsy on Mikey. I think that between the two of them, they would have like Rube Goldberg and kind of like little like, here's how we could open the door from a distance.
You know what my pet theory is?
What is your pet theory? I would
love to think that it was like a big project that Mikey and Data worked on together because they're neighbors.
Yeah, that's the thing. You gotta remember, they all commune at the Goonda, throughout the Goondocks, and specifically Mikey's house is probably the central hub, would be my guess, because he has all the cool stuff to play with because of his dad.
All right, really quick, gonna get into more comments here. Little Blue says, I keep forgetting Donner also directed Scrooge. Indeed.
Which, again, Goonies, a pathway to, I would like to think.
Sure. Richard Victim says it's what Stranger Things tries to do and succeeds at its best.
Yeah.
I mean, at
its best,
definitely. I feel like Stranger Things is like, it's a little bit Goonies, it's a little bit Stand By Me, it's a little
and
bit
E.T.
Yeah.
You remember who's in Stand By Me, don't you?
Who?
The Felds, Corey Feldman.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I
need to rewatch Stand By Me.
Yeah, well, especially before Life of Chuck.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I should. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, I do agree. Richard's Victims. Skeleton Crew did pull off something similar for sure. And I do like Skeleton Crew quite a bit. Richard's Victim says that's a huge movie thing, like huge breakfast, but only eats an apple. Yeah. All right, let's keep going here. But yeah, I do agree that I like the premise of Mikey's house essentially being like this sort of like museum in its own right, just because of how his dad stores the stuff from the museum. I gotta tell you, like, I do think the distribution of screen time in general is well handled between the actual Goonies themselves. Like, I think they all have really memorable stuff to do, but I gotta tell you, man, I really like the parents, and I kind of wish that they had a little bit more to do in this movie. We'll talk about it at the end, but Data's dad is fucking adorable.
I know. Yeah, I meant to look into this. They did bring actual family in the last shots. Now, some of them are actors, some of them are. But I wonder if that might be Kike Kwan's actual father. I don't know
Yeah,
because
his
he was
biological father.
Yes, his biological father.
All right.
I don't know. He might be. He's probably an actor. But I think a lot of the like, for example, Chunk's family. I want to say was probably actually Jeff Cohen's family, at least the
But like
60s.
specifically though, like I really like the mother in this, and I think she has enough to do at the beginning where she does make an impression. I would have liked to have seen at least one more scene with the father, just considering how plot relevant this guy actually is to getting the ball rolling on everything. And I do think he has the very interesting job as the museum curator. So I don't know. If they were to ever do a remake, I would like to see the father have a little bit more of a focus.
I'm with even the little bits that he's in though. I think there's a lot of character that's conveyed where
There is,
he seems like
yeah.
a nice guy. He seems like he's not like coming down or yelling at the kids. He feels a lot like kind of like what if Mike's dad from Stranger Things cared more?
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, because he does feel like the guy doesn't seem like a bad guy, but he seems very like he's completely useless to the plot at every turn.
Let's see. We have the last John Kelling of Krypton. Well done. Well done. Baby Ruth. Yeah, indeed. We will get to Sloth soon enough.
Okay,
All
so real quick, just with the love fest for Mrs. Walsh, that's Mary Ellen Trainor. Now, Mary Ellen Trainor, a lot of people might recognize. Donner likes to reuse a lot of his cast in his movies, specifically the ones that really kind of went down the tomes of history, and she is the psychiatrist in Lethal Weapon.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, she's in Scrooge, and she pops up, so it's great to see her. I completely forgot that she was in the Goonies until my rewatch. Like, oh my god, that's her!
Right.
It's the poor doctor that Riggs always makes fun of. Anyway, so with our Goonies, the resident of the seaside town here, lovable oddballs. I think there's kind of a nice kind of like kind of class system that we're kind of commenting on our main plot line in the background, where we have the upper crust, like the Mr. Perkins of the town. They're eager to foreclose on the Goondocks to make room for an upscale country club.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the again, it's the elite looking for perfection and perfect and presentable versus the history and the authenticity of the people of the seaside town. And think about this, Mr. Walsh, who is is a museum curator, and it's about kind of the messy, kind of fun history of the world, pirates and all this kind of stuff. So it's in contrast. Again, it's about so it's elite. It's kind of classy it's classy in a more blue collar way, I guess you could maybe put it.
Sure. One of the things I really like about it, just from a plot point of view, is I like how as the movie starts, like we don't waste any time setting up like, oh, there's the big bad businessman trying to foreclose a house. I mean, we do kind of get that scene a little bit, but I like how it's like we're already like midway into that conflict by the time the movie starts. You know what I mean?
We don't have to spell it out. We exposit it pretty smoothly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So it's breaking down our Goonies real quick. So we have the Walsh kids. We have Mikey, Sean Astin. We got Brand, Josh Brolin. I think they have a great brotherly dynamic. I love Brolin in this movie so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, for his first acting role, I think he does a great job. I think he really, really stands out.
Someone put that man in the Deadpool movie. Stat.
Oh God, right.
So he's
It's crazy to think that this kid is going to be fucking Thanos.
Yeah. He was so plucky.
Right? What happened?
So I love that he's trying to step up, but he's trying to step, but he flunked his driving test. So all of our Goonies are flawed characters in the best of senses here, and it's the fact that he's treated like he's treated kind of like in the old 80s stereotype. He's like the downer older brother, like the 80s 90s thing of like it's like think about Home Alone. It's very Chris Columbus-y kind of idea where you have like the older brother who's like down on the little brother. There's some appreciation there, but he's
Chris Columbus helped write this, right?
Yeah, that's something Chris Columbus did write this.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like in the DNA there. So but thankfully Brand far more likable than Buzz.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. But you see what I mean, though. Where I love that we showed here that we're kind of treating him like an obstacle, but he's really a nice guy from the start to finish. I think we like Brand from get go. There's no like reveal like, oh no, he's actually a nice guy. He's messing with his little brother, but he's tasked with
Right. Like I
making
kind of
sure.
feel like the Mike character from E.T. is a little bit more in that dynamic of like he
Yeah,
starts out like borderline being a bully to Elliot, but then by the end it's like, oh my god, I love this kid.
yeah, and I really love like the bit where like he's been instructed. Mikey is in his care, is his charge. He's told to make sure he's an asthmatic. He's young, vulnerable asthmatic brother. Make sure he doesn't go out in the rain and all this stuff. So his goals of tracking down Mikey and keeping an eye on him are very pure. And there's that beautiful bit where they hug each other because they're kind of sad about the situation. He kind of drags him inside. It's really nice.
Right. All
Good
right.
stuff. All right, let's see.
Sean Astin, of course, I know from Lord of the Rings, obviously.
Also Rudy.
Of course, and it's really surreal to see him here because it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like Sean Astin he has such a warmth to him as an actor. You know what I mean? He just kind of like radiates this kind of like really, really like caring energy about him in any role that he does, and I think that just really radiated with Samwise Gamgee, and I think here it's also very present.
Oh, and also Bob from Stranger Things.
Of course. Oh my god. Well, I
Another Bob.
Joyce Byers. I still can't get over his death, Dragon. His death was fucking perfect, where he's just like, he takes that one last look at Joyce, and he's just like, oh, it's her, dead. Oh, yeah. Bob, you were too good for this world.
That's true, he was. Also, I love the character trait between him and the mother, where they both kind of like go for the big words, but they kind of lose them. Like, it's what I meant.
John Kelling says, Bob Newby, superhero. Indeed.
Also, John Kelling, the last of the Kellings, the House of Kelling. He correctly pointed out the Kikwe Kwan thing, where that's like what I thought was an actor, but
But that guy, you know what's funny is that guy actually feels like adult Kihei Kwan now. It's kind of tricky.
Oh yeah. It's like one of the best moments in the movie. We have to get there though. Okay, let's see. So, Mouth, Corey Feldman. Again, a lot of fun. Again, the role of his breakout kind of '80s roles. I mean, sure, a lot of people will say Stand By Me is probably his best acting, but still, he's the wise.
Well, Stand By Me, man. I mean, he really channeled something in Stand By Me. Like, he really channeled like a lot of his. We need to talk about Stand By Me at some point because that movie's got some fascinating production history.
So that's the thing. This is kind of like, I think this is the gateway to get us to Feldman and Stand By Me. So at least of the original 380s roles, this is probably his best up to that point. And he's a wise guy. He's got cool hair. My favorite bit in the movie with Matt, I love how he charms Mrs. Walsh with the mistranslating the Spanish, and that he speaks Spanish fluently, and she's
that is absolutely a gag that would not go over well these days, though.
But that's the thing. Again, apparently
fucking with the Hispanic worker who doesn't speak English like.
Well, of course, it was the '80s, though. It was a different time,
right? But it is a fun gag, like not exactly the most PC, but I think it's a very memorable introduction to his character. What I also love is how each of these characters, they have these different traits that they're going to use when they get into the cave. So obviously Data's got the invention stuff. Mouth has the being able to read Spanish. Like again, it's a very efficient screenplay as far as setup and payoff.
Yeah, and I just love that. It's just the mistranslation scene just is comedy gold to me. Just seeing her horrified reactions to what he's saying, and Mrs. Walsh is none the wiser. It's just really
well, Miss Walsh, it's like she's not only none the wiser, she's just thinking like, "Oh, he's such a nice boy for helping."
He has a Farmiga moment, and I love it. It's just, I love the down to earth nature too, where he kind of show like mom's got like kind of a bum arm right now. It's like in a sling, so she kind of needs the help, and anyway. So Data, honestly, the stand standout of all the kids. Ke Huy Quan, just the favorite of the bunch. I'm a gadget nut. I've always been a gadget nut. So my heart goes out to the little boy who's building all the gadgets, and I love the. We don't learn it till the end, but the internal logic of one of the reasons he probably likes gadgets. I mean, we have I think we have a Bond gag when he makes his big entrance. But the point being, probably between a love of James Bond's and just spy stuff, he also, he's emulating his father, who likes to tinker, and he's like an amateur inventor, and he's emulating his father.
His father is essentially Stu Pickles.
Essentially, yeah. Well, he's not designing toys though, but yes.
No, but it's still the same kind of energy, though.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So again, I love that. I love the bond with his father. It's going on there.
One thing I really, really appreciate with his character is I love the parallel where obviously it's a shame what happened to him as far as like getting typecast, but I do love that his two big iconic 80s roles just mirror each other so well, because Temple of Doom starts out with what is essentially a James Bond action sequence in the middle of an Indiana Jones movie where we get introduced to him. And then in this movie, he's essentially playing James Bond in the middle of what is essentially an Indiana Jones adventure. I love that parallel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's great. Anyway, yeah, so I love like the other layer of like why all the devices. It's probably anti-bully devices for being kind of like kind of the foreign kid, and probably in the 80s.
Can we just talk about the concept of the Goonies just in general? I love the whole idea of like, I don't know. I'm sorry to Stephen King, but this group of kids is so much more likable and relatable than the loser club from It.
And he was just chasing the Goonies dragon on that.
Well, one. Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I feel like this group is like the seminal like group of misfit kids, and I love that they literally like their whole group identity is based upon being outcasts, and I love the pride that they take in that.
Yeah, it's again just the lovable oddballs who again we later on we was saying Goonies always mess up, but just it's important just to learn from it.
Right.
Oh, by the way, real quick, John Kelly has a really fun comment I want to get. The last son of the House of Kel. On my world, it's not J. On my world, it means unlimited refills.
Well, if it's the House of Kel, then is the unlimited refills of orange soda?
Who loves orange soda?
I gotta tell you, Dragon, I'm getting a little bit back into orange soda recently.
I'm drinking orange soda now.
Yeah. Well, I know you've always been a big orange soda guy. For me, it's like it's very refreshing. It's more refreshing than most soda.
It's tangy goodness.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, so who loves orange soda? Kel loves orange soda. Is it true?
I do.
There you go. All right, so Chunk, Jeff Cohen. Again, this is very much steeped in the era of Fatty Falls Down.
Yeah, I think this is the one. Like, I would like to think that the kids are ribbing him lovingly. I think all the stuff with the kids ribbing him is fine. I think the stuff that really doesn't age well, and I think it kind of goes away as the movie goes on, but like towards the first act where Chunk literally thinks about nothing but food, he's just like, oh, it's a soda machine. I'm so thirsty. Oh, it's ice cream. It's like, okay, guys. Okay. Like, you can't just make this kid's whole character trait food.
It's funny. Do you remember in recess? Do you remember what the kindergartner? It was it Tubby? Was that the kindergartner friend of Mikey from recess? Who was like he sounds so much like Chunk.
I can't remember. I don't remember the name.
Well, point being, you remember that character though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's what I'm saying. I think Chunk definitely had some state power, and everyone was kind of chasing it's the adorable chubby kid who's probably going to want to eat everything because of these moments that we have here with Chunk. I will admit, I think at times mainly at the start, I think we dumped really in Act 1. we really dumbed him down in places. Like the whole thing, like he goes up against the window, and you can tell it's like in 2 shots. If you really look at it, it doesn't track because it's like he's pressed he's going to the window from behind, nothing smearing, and then we have like the shot of the window. It's like he's smearing the pizza, and he's like pressing like the
right
the milkshake is,
and then also I do like the running gag of him being a total klutz and breaking shit though.
That's funny though.
I like that kind of subverts the whole like, fatty falls down thing.
Yeah, it's less falling down, it's more, well, he breaks everything.
Fatty breaks stuff, yes.
Yeah. So with that, I still love the bit where Mikey gives him the map because he knows he's gonna break it, so it's his way of opening it without having to get his hands dirty. He could always like foist the blame on the Chunk. Oh yeah, Chunk broke it. Okay, well that's part of the course. It's okay if Chunk breaks it, not my son.
All right. Ooh, this is actually a really cool personal tidbit from John Kelling. He says, to be fair, my whole character trait at that age was food, but my grandfather also owned a bunch of ice cream trucks when I was a kid, so unlimited refills.
Unlimited refills!
John Kelling, I gotta say, having a family member that owns not just an ice cream truck, but a bunch of ice cream trucks, man, that would have been a childhood dream, man. That would have been fucking mind-blowing.
That is the coolest. Literally, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard, John.
Right,
it's amazing. Right. Why couldn't you bring this up when you have Jacob on? Jacob will eat that up.
All right.
We're going to hold ice cream tangent. Maybe now we will. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that now. So,
Dragon. The ice cream bars with the character faces on them with the gumball eyes. Yeah, that's the shit for me. That's the classic. That's the classic. Anyways,
I could always go for an ice cream sandwich.
You know what my go-to was with the characters for some reason, even though I'd never seen the movies?
Okay, Ninja Turtle?
No, I was kind of a Ninja Turtles kid.
Okay, well, I don't know.
Pink Panther.
Oh, I didn't know that Pink Panther had one.
Oh,
and awesome.
I don't know why, but for some reason, just the idea of pink ice cream just seemed really appealing to me.
Was the pink ice cream strawberry?
I think it was, but it was kind of like a tangy strawberry.
Okay, maybe tutti frutti.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah, or maybe it was one of those things where like the pink was strawberry and like the white was lime or something like that.
I remember they did one for Batman. I did not see it in person though. I still, like Chip Kidd did this amazing book. I'm sure Eli knows all about. Batman animated. It's about the animated series, and they showed all the merch, and I recognized a lot of it just from a distance. And one of them was like, "Oh yes, the famed ice cream," with Batman with the gumball eyes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right. All right. Okay. There's our ice cream tangent. There we go.
Okay. So Chunk, again, very much the fan favorite of the most iconic of the bunch.
I would say so. Yeah.
And Donner
also
knew
the one that really is our gateway into Sloth, who's the other like really iconic element of this movie.
And that's the thing. I think Donner knew the moment he met Jeff Cohen and Skilly. He saw like a lot of Jeff Cohen, just as he was at that age, was kind of channeled in the Chunk in terms of the big personality on this kid, And I think he really leaned into it, just seeing the '80s icon status of him and him in conjunction with Sloth. So we have like he wears the Hawaiian shirt. He's the chubby boy who cries wolf with all the exaggerated stories, including a Michael Jackson story, which again is very very appropriate, given that Jackson's on a set a lot. He's a sweet kid but a dope. He just blurts at to me the guy just like makes me like throw my hands over the air in a fun way. Is like he blurts out everything to the bad guys. It's just like, okay, listen, Mister. So this is the Fratellis and they're bad. And they killed people. He's like, turn the lights on. It's the Fratellis. Like, what
a moron. Right. It's like, come on, Chunk. Have a little bit of self-awareness, my bro.
Yeah.
Right. John Kelling. This actually does make sense. He says the Pink Panther bar was cherry flavored. That makes sense. That's why I did have in my head that it was kind of a tangy flavor.
We keep talking about ice cream bars. I keep thinking of that gag from Ren and Stimpy.
My ice cream bar. Oh,
I've had this ice cream since I was a child.
Oh my god.
Why can't you leave us alone?
Richard's Victims, by all means, if you want to go on an ice cream tangent, feel free. The floor's all yours, sir.
Tiki, how dare you take away his ice cream tangent? He's had it since he was a child. How dare you? This is his moment. This is his time. His time down there in the comments.
Down here. This is his time down here.
In the comments.
Oh, man.
It's always our time, Tiki. Yield some of it to him. All right,
okay, John Kelling, Richard Victor says, dude, Tiki, I literally just ate one of those weird character ice creams today, and I'm like, wait, why is it still? It is still good. It is. I know because Six Flags still sells them, and occasionally I'll get them. Six Flags also has Dole Whip, and between Dole Whip and character ice cream bars, I'm most of the time going for the Dole Whip. But
how dare you? How dare you not go for the character ice cream bars and given a choice between that and the Dole Whip? You can get Dole Whip anywhere.
It's Dole Whip! Don't fuck with the... My name is literally Tiki Dragon. Come on now.
Why? What does it matter?
Literally my crack. All right.
Let me ask you this: have you sampled all the different characters yet?
I mean, no, probably.
Well, not. There you go. There's a goal. Dole Whip's always gonna be there.
Oh my god! All right,
these are an endangered species.
That's true.
Zaz loves a kid with a magnifying glass on, holding it over your ice creams.
Oh my god, I love how unhinged this
he's gonna steamroll Six Flags and all the Looney Tunes in Six Flags. You just wait. He's upset that they got one over it. They got two over him.
Yeah, John Kelling, I think the first time I ever had Dippin' Dots was probably Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, so I'm with you there. Anyway.
Okay, John Kelling is very appropriate comment here. Richard's Victims, you Goonie!
All right.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we established the foreclosure. The kids are bummed out. Plus, with Brand not being able to drive, it puts a damper on their last hurrah through town. They had travel plans, can't do it now. So they explore the attic, and then admittedly, you mentioned this earlier. I have a plot gripe here. It's a we don't care thing to a T.
Okay.
But why would any museum allow Irving Walsh to store these probably valuable artifacts? A bunch of rambunctious kids who are going to break everything, including we don't know if that statue was theirs or was the museum's, but they're
right.
But it's that's what I'm saying. It's a buy that just conveniently it's all because we need an all one location. It's going to be in the attic.
Because how else? It is fair to say that this channel is kind of the Goonies of movie podcasts. I think that's a fair assessment. All right. Yep. But yeah, no, I can sign off on that. It is very unrealistic that they wouldn't be stored in some sort of climate controlled warehouse.
It's how else does a kid get on the treasure map? That's the thing.
Right, yeah.
All right, let's see. So, okay, so we find the pirate artifacts, find the map to One-Eyed Willie's treasure. I love the very pure intent. Not we want money, we want treasure. Ooh, it's no, we can use this treasure to save the Goondocks. I love how it's very Three Stooges and we're gonna save the orphanage with this money,
Yeah, absolutely.
So they tie up poor Brand in the workout equipment. Then poor Brand goes through it. Think about what happens to him. He's tied up workout equipment. His mother doesn't lift a finger to help him. She literally puts a hand over his mouth and he's trying to explain the situation. The kids let the air out of his new tires that he mowed several lawns to get. And then he has to ride a little girl's a pink little tricycle. Ryan Reynolds loves to mock Josh Brolin for starring just in case you wanted to know, it's really funny. They did did I ever showed you that clip where they did this radio show around the time of Deadpool 2, and it's this radio show where they have a game where it's a playground insults where it's insult the other guy until he cracks up.
I don't think so.
And it's he throws Goonies at him a lot and this kind of stuff. That's funny. Anyway, but so just the Thanos, ultimate villain of
what's crazy though is that even just look at his face on this poster. And you can still see the Thanos in there, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Well, yeah. That's quality motion capture, my friend.
Right. No, I'm just saying from such a young age, it's still like, yep, I can see the Thanos in it.
Yep, it's him doing insect, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
He said, "My Gamora."
Oh God.
No, Mikey, my Gamora.
All right.
Anyway, I hope they remember you, Mouth.
Oh God. Oh man, now I just want to like remake the Goonies where it's like everyone is exactly the same except Josh Brolin is Thanos. That's the only difference. Thanos just tagging along with the kids.
Now, would you want it to be full-grown Thanos or young Thanos, like a young Sheldon kind of situation?
Full-grown Thanos.
Okay.
Full-grown Thanos.
There's a what if for you.
Oh man, right.
Which they could actually get Josh Brolin for.
All right.
Anyway, okay. So here's what I felt most bad for Brand. Okay, so he's riding the little girl's bike, but tricycle, and he's he's taking it in stride. He's a man on a mission. He's going to get him. Either it's out of spite or out of like concern because he promised mom to watch over.
Probably
the boy.
A little bit of both at that point.
He's the girl of his dreams that he wanted to drive around again, like the bully because he can drive. He's gonna swoop the girl from under him. So Andy is like in Troy's car. And Troy, again, I love this. Like Brand's a nice guy. He's very nice. He's not making any moves. Not obviously he's trying to make Google eyes with the girl or anything. He says like, "Hey, can we offer you a ride?" No, thanks. He's very respectfully says that's all he does. And Troy psychotically, he grabs his arm and says, "No, I insist. We'll give you a lift."
Take you for a ride.
And he's basically, it's psychotic what he's doing at the speed of a vehicle, probably, I don't know, not 80 miles an hour, but let's say faster than the trike. Like the wheels are
like a good 40 at least.
Like the wheels are coming off, and the back wheel spinning the way it does. Like, oh my god, this is dangerous.
Right.
And just sending him, essentially trying to kill Brand over just turning the girl down. Like, oh man, that's some Stephen King level stuff right there. that's an 80s movie too early right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, let's see. So. Also, there's up to show you how much of a jerk Troy was. If you notice, the map is a little singed on the side. There was a deleted scene where they went into like a 7-Eleven and Troy, like, he tried smoking the map as like a joint. And basically, so he rolled it up and he basically burned the side of it. That's why the map looks a little charred.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, all right. That one you actually can see, by the way. The only one that's like lost to the ages is the gorilla scene. Everything else you can find like you can find online or the DVD or something.
Right.
Okay, so the boys venture out. They use the doubloon to find, the lead on the map, which basically the Rise of Skywalker stole from Goonies.
Yes, but this is like a we don't care level of like, all right, that's a little bit of a stretch, but it's fine. The Rise of Skywalker thing is just preposterous, dude.
Like this is like okay, it's 80s whimsy, okay.
Right. But the Rise of Skywalker, it's like, okay, so you're meaning to tell me that when they designed this map, they didn't factor in at all that, like, that the Death Star would have maybe, like, I don't know, sunk into the ocean a little bit and thrown off those coordinates?
Yeah, plus, I mean, come on, how much foresight does Palpatine have? Let's be honest.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so... I mean, look, I'll give him 60. I'll give him 66 plus orders, but I mean, just the one. Okay, so look, if it happens to fall right there,
right? It's so fucking stupid.
I want to make sure this piece of the is like chiseled out specifically to be like a wayfinder of some kind.
That honestly, I really, really, really think that might be the single stupidest thing in the Rise of Skywalker is that plot point right there.
I mean, I would like to think J.J. Abrams is smarter than like, oh look, we all like the Goonies. Let's put a Goonies reference in there.
Yeah, but J.J. Abrams I have my issues with J.J. Abrams. But anyways.
Okay. Sound like Lucas when you do that. I have my issues with JJ.
I have my issues with JJ. I just think he kind of was a little bit style over substance. Anyways.
See, folks, he does that. So he embraces the jowl.
Yeah, I do. You're right.
I don't know how he does it. I don't know if it's like a frog thing or what, but he can do
Steven,
it.
I think you need to remake Jaws and cast Andy Serkis as the shark, because I think the shark needs to be a larger-than-life motion capture character. Anyways.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about the Fratellis.
Okay, hold on really quick. I love this. John Kelling says, low-key, Stephen King probably just did a lot of coke after watching this movie and wrote it. You're not wrong, John Kelling. You are not wrong. Okay, so yeah, the Fratellis. Basically the Beagles. I mean, this is one of the best uses of the trope, but my god, it's weird how prominent this trope is throughout fiction.
So there are a couple things with the Fratellis. So yeah, you're right. There's definitely Ma Beagley energy going on here, but there's also a lot of, and I wonder if you had this at all. By the way, when I mentioned, I might make you go like, oh. Until I saw the Goonies, did I realize that? Oh, wait a minute, the Wheezing Ed episode of Hey Arnold might have been a love letter to Goonies.
Oh, absolutely it was. There absolutely, no doubt.
Yeah. I saw Hey Arnold way before I saw the Goonies.
Of course. Yeah.
So I was like, wait a minute. Especially with the whole, like, I think one of my favorite Ki Kwan moments in the whole movie is like, $50 bills!
Yeah, you know what I love about that moment is I love how just absolutely like earnestly heartbroken and deflated he is when he finds out that they're not real. You know,
because again, he thought like, oh wait, this is the treasure all along. We can use
it's
this.
like that. I actually, I'm glad you brought that moment up because it's genuinely one of my favorite moments in the whole movie, because it's like essentially like all the pathos of a whole character arc tied up into like 20 seconds of screen time.
Yep, and he genuinely I love the naive, like he thinks like just a few, like 50s would be enough to save the Boondocks.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, so the Fratelli. So we have Jake and Francis. Jake played by Robert Davi. I don't know. I misread my own note there on the end, but Robert Davi and Joey Pants. Joey Pants. Yeah, he put on his Joey Pants today.
By the way, Dragon, one thing I felt stupid about with memoirs is that I forgot to put The Last of Us season 2 on the list. We'll talk about it next month.
Okay.
But Joey Pants did have a really good that season had some really good like one scene cameos, and Joey Pants was one of them.
All right. So it's funny.
Pants was kind of pivotal to the storyline in that season. Anyways.
Okay, so these two guys, they actually had like a real life sibling rivalry of sorts. They weren't actually siblings, but they would kind of like prank each other and stuff like that all the time. And like basically in the audition, like Robert pointed out like, hey, he's got a toupee. You could use that in the movie. Basically, kind of selling out that he wears the hairpiece, and they decided to work it into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a lot of really good chemistry. Pretty much everything you see when they're bickering, that's pretty much real life. It's a lot of that's improv.
Sure, right.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So again, the Wheezing Ed perils, in which we have like the mob in our kids movie that basically establishes like, okay, this is this is the threat, and basically the kids have kind of stumbled into something bigger, and also the Donner-esque stakes of like there are dead bodies in this movie, and Chunk is saddled with them.
Yep.
Yep. So the boys stumble into the mob hideout, which is an abandoned lodge restaurant of some kind.
Mm-hmm. I love how we set the stakes of how dangerous these people are so quickly with the whole like she's threatening to cut off Mouth's tongue.
Yeah.
Like I love how personal of a threat that is. Like it's a horrifying threat to anyone, but specifically for a character like Mouth, that's just a step too far,
Yeah, it's like sewing Deadpool's mouth shut. You don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, I think it instilled a fear of switchblades in Corey Feldman.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying with Stand By Me.
Sure.
All right, so I got to admit though. Okay, so everything conveniently being just like okay, this lodge restaurant happens to be the mob hideout as well. It's a buy.
Yeah, it's a we don't care buy.
Well, let me scratch it. Not the fact that it's like all takes place in the locations. The fact that they would go as this whole sequence of like, okay, we're gonna serve the boys just briefly, just to establish the location, or okay, we're gonna four
Well, I also
waters.
feel like it's establishing like that, we have to like establish that they know of each other,
Yeah. So
I don't
that's
know. I don't mind it because for me I always read it as just like it's just like she's trying to serve them as like a ruse to kind of like get them off the trail of what they're really there for,
yeah. I mean, you're right. That's kind of what they're doing, but it's like, well, they can't serve food or anything clearly, and it's just like it's tainted water. I mean, I guess I know she doesn't care, but it still feels like I don't know really the end goal.
That Nicolas Cage movie, The Surfer, has a really great running bit with tainted water that kind of came to mind for me with this.
Well, so does the tuxedo.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's not so much that it just feels like there's a scene with no ending. Our literal ending was like, thank God Brand shows up because we had no out for this set piece. It's this way. It's a very kind of creepy Scooby Doo atmosphere that we're building here, just to establish the location. It's very Scooby Doo.
It is very Scooby Doo. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
All right. So then we build up Sloth, which we'll get to momentarily. We're gonna set up Chunk, and then we're gonna get the Sloth kids. I know everyone wants to get the Sloth, especially John Kelling, for obvious reasons.
Also, John Kelling says Chuck's hand in the blender also disturbed me even today.
It disturbs me greatly as well because
Right.
my whole thing of like I value my hands. Yep. The Goonies is Scooby Doo minus a talking dog.
Yeah, that's accurate. I mean, Sloth kind of serves the role of the Scooby Doo stand-in in that gang, I guess.
Yep. Okay, so poor Chunk gets left behind while the others make a break for the entrance. The whole reason they're at this lodge is it leaves. There's a secret pathway under the fireplace that leads them to the sewers, to the caverns, and ultimately the ship. And now we have the girls in on the adventure. Andy and Steph. They join the crusade. Admittedly, Steph's just comic relief. Let's just call it out now. She's great.
I like her though. I honestly I think she's got a really unique energy in this movie. Like she's probably the least plot relevant character, but I still really like. I don't know. She's just a very very like classic kind of 80s tomboy, and I really like the energy she brings to the dynamic within the group.
Oh, for sure. Also, by the way, again with our Stranger Things, it's very much it's Nancy and Barb.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I like her. I'm just saying, technically, like what you're saying earlier, everyone kind of serves a purpose in the adventure. They have skills that pay off. Technically, Steph's just there because we like her.
Yeah, for sure. And with the Nancy and Barb thing, I mean, it's like functionally within the friendship, she's definitely more of a Barb. Yeah. But I like to think she's got a little bit of a Max quality to her with the tomboy nature as well.
I mean, when her scenes with Mouth definitely feel very much like Max.
Yeah, definitely.
Only sans the coma.
I love that dynamic, by the way. I love the dynamic of like you can tell that Mouth has a little bit of a crush on her, and obviously she's not going to go for it because he's kind of a little kid. But she appreciates it. I don't know. I've always found that dynamic very cute.
Oh yeah. All right, so Chunk gets left behind. We have this priceless interrogation scene where, on one hand, terrifying with the blender, like the threat of putting his hand in the blender that has like the pink goo in it. So they want to know everything. So then he basically tells them like his whole life story. It's like a confessional.
This is probably the best editing in the movie where they're going back and forth between the other Goonies, like discovering the traps and stuff, and then we cut back to Chunk, and he's like, and the one time I did something really bad, I mixed up fake vomit, and I went, and a movie
everyone threw up.
Everyone started throwing up.
So by the way, so Cohen improvised the earlier one about like his about the whole the toupee as like a beard.
That's great too. Yeah.
So that and his sister. So his sister, and he does have a sister and an uncle that were Edie and like Uncle Max. That they were real life kind of pools. They were just kind of like used in that scene.
Oh, nice.
So the fake. I love the fake vomit confession because if you look at it, this is what makes me laugh. I love that we see Jake is smiling, he's cracking up, and hello, I sort of like this kid.
Totally.
I love that he's like
the brothers are kind of getting a little bit attached to this kid.
I love that so much. I love that when Jake's like he's the audience. He's becoming charmed by the fat boy. So, anyways, they decide not to kill him. Of course, the bats show up, and that serves as proof. Like, okay, we don't have to dismember the kid. And then we have this great trailer moment of like Chunk, telling, yelling to warn his fellow Goonies, like, Mike, I don't know,
after you,
run. So it's a really heroic moment for Chunk, just saying, run.
Sure.
Yeah. So sad when we take the ice cream away from Chunk, by the way, where he snatched the ice cream and like, he's okay. So, he's put in the same room as Sloth, the third Fratelli brother in the fraternity of Fratelli brothers. So, played by the wonderful, the dearly missed John Matusak. John Matusak was a football player. I don't know if he's a linebacker or whatnot, but he was like, the idea is he was like one of the tallest football players in the NFL at the time. And that's the thing. So this guy was a trooper, by the way.
It's an incredible makeup job, man. It really is. It's an impressive makeup job for today.
You want to hear something crazy about this makeup job?
Sure.
Okay, so Donner has regaled people with this story. That poor John Matusak. So this is in the era of the '80s that this was with the makeup that they had. It took him like he was in this makeup for hours, like getting it right because they put like there's like they basically build the makeup around like this. He's wearing like a metal earpiece that basically has like the way you'd have like a headset with a microphone built on it, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine where the microphone is, but as like a metal thing with an eye at the end of it that he's kind of wearing just built around his head. Like he's wearing like a thing on his head that has the eye, so it could be one lower than the other. They build the whole head around like almost like a paper mache with
right.
It's not paper mache, but it's like a makeup that's like built to misshapen his head and build around that eye. So it's not just like placing on his face; they have to build extra face around his eye, around that eye that's hovering in space. So they do all that, and also the teeth and everything. And Richard Donner tells the kids, "Okay, kids, listen." His makeup can't get wet, so just don't splash around and get his makeup wet. Instantly, they just playfully, not knowing, and they're kids. They get poor John's makeup wet, so he had to leave, and he had to get the whole thing done all over.
Oh my god, dude, that would be such a get off my lawn kind of moment.
But he didn't. This is where Donner's, he always glows about them. He didn't once complain. He didn't yell at the kids, anything. He just, he was such a sweet guy. So sadly, he passed away like a few years after, like in '89. So he passed away, young man, 38 years old. He had it was an accidental pill thing. He had because NFL injuries and stuff, and he had a bad back and that kind of
Sure.
Anyway, but yeah, so he excels as Sloth here. Sloth is very much it's a big highlight of the movie. The idea that Chunk gives him a baby Ruth and to become a famous duo. Like, geez, mister, you're hungrier than I am.
I really like how this movie, it doesn't go over the top with the product placement, but the product placement it does have is very memorable between like the baby Ruth and the dominoes at the end.
Yep. Now, Tiki, this is a crazy thing. That dominoes. I mean, they joke about it, and I think Jeff Cohen's joked about it over the years. He put Domino's on the map, but they kind of did. The Domino's was very early on at that time. This is before Ninja Turtles. This is like Domino's,
Well, Ninja Turtles was the thing that kind of exploded Domino's, but you're right. This did kind of put it on the map.
Actually, wait, I don't know if it was Pizza Hut for Ninja Turtles or not, but you know what I mean. It's the point of these early pizza brands,
right?
Yeah, one thing, Domino's, I don't know, they had the delivery thing, 30 minutes was free, and I watched this. There's a mini tangent, kids. I've been on this kick of watching, the blank that made America, and they had the food that makes America is riveting. I don't know if I've told you about this.
I'm pretty sure the original Ninja, the 80s Ninja Turtles movie, I'm pretty sure it was Domino's Dragon.
It looked melty like Domino's.
Michael Bay Ninja Turtles was Pizza Hut, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the original was Domino's.
I bring it up because now all the current day product, when they did Mutant Mayhem, the product placement was Pizza Hut. So that's what I was thinking.
Right, nowadays it's Pizza Hut, but I'm pretty sure the original was Domino's.
Because that pizza looks like Domino's pizza if you look at that. Anyway, because it's all melty and so. Anyway, so like the Goofy movie pizza.
Of course. All goes back to a Goofy movie.
We have been watching the Food That Made America, and they had like this episode about the Pizza Hut versus Domino's, and like how Pizza Hut was like basically franchised, and Domino's is like they innovated with the whole the whole 30 minutes or free delivery.
Sure.
There's a whole thing.
The Domino's. I don't know if you remember this, but Domino's did the whole like being able to track your delivery on the website thing before DoorDash was even a thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that because it was like literally I used that function the first night that I got stoned, and I was like, oh boy, the munchies are on the way, and we can literally track where they are.
Man, that's just sad.
All right.
Turn the pizza
night, Dragon. That was a fucking fun night.
Turning the pizza guy into your own personal Pac-Man. Just watching him on like the screen, like, oh, there he is. A few more stops. Oh, look at him. Num, num, num,
okay,
num.
To be fair, everybody does that now with DoorDash. All right, it is a very common thing nowadays.
Anyway, my point was, there's actually a point where Pizza Hut was so successful, they could have bought the struggling Domino's, and Domino's said no. Crazy. Anyway, so
Richard's victim says, I was the pizza guy. It was weird. I bet. I don't doubt it.
Yep. It's like, why does he look so happy to see me? He's just giggling like an idiot. Just like that.
Oh, my God.
Just giggling like that. He opens the door. Oh, sir, here's your pizza. Oh, God. Here, pizza here.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's funny, John Kelling, because I have, like, he says I freak out my DoorDasher by meeting them at the driveway. Dragon, I have this weird fucking thing with DoorDash where it's like, if a DoorDasher is coming, I will literally like fucking be as far away from the windows and doors as I can be and like make sure that they have pulled out before I open the door to get the food. It's just a weird autistic social anxiety trait with me. I don't know what it is.
They're not going to run away with the food. I mean, they
no, I don't know what it is, man. I can't put my finger on why. Like, it's weird. I know it's weird.
See, I do a thing with my delivery guy where I usually like the front door is open, but like like the screen door is the glass door is closed, but I can hear like I kind of sometimes I have really good hearing. Mm-hmm. Okay, I can kind of like Murdoch level hearing sometimes, and with that I can hear like the stop of the car, and it's like I know like or like the stop of the engine of the car is like, okay, so he's out front, he's double parked. I'm gonna meet him at the door. Anyway,
I mean, honestly, low key, that's one of the few like good things to come out of the pandemic for me was the ability to just have DoorDashers just drop the food off at your front door without having to meet them.
That's the thing, though. I mean, I have like impeccable timing with it. Where when they walk up, we're walking up at the same time. We're waving at each other, and I'm getting it's like that.
John Kelling, yes, this is actually very accurate. This sums it up. Tiki thinks they're gonna judge him if they see him be like, "Yeah, you would order that, you son of a bitch." No, John Kelling, that right there, that's on the mall, on the money. Even if what I order is not embarrassing in the slightest, it's like, yeah.
See, Tiki's relationship is Brendan Fraser's character from The Whales.
Yes, exactly. I knew that was going to get brought up. That whole thing is probably my actual favorite part of that movie, which I'm not a big fan of that movie. You like that movie a lot more than I do, but the pizza delivery thing is my favorite part.
That was such a crushing payoff.
It was, yeah.
It's like, oh god, the one time he does see him.
All right, Richard's victim says, I do the opposite. I run to them with padded scream, "Give me the food! I'm crazy!"
That's how Richard's victims.
So my whole thing with that though is that like this is, people don't really realize this, but like DoorDashers can give you a rating too. Same with Uber drivers, and it's like, I don't want to get a rating where it's like people want to avoid being my DoorDasher.
I hate that idea. I hate that concept that they can rate you. It's that to me would make me paranoid as all get out. That would turn me into this guy over here.
Right.
It's like, oh no, I'm going to be judged.
Well, no, that and honestly, that is part of it. That is part of why I just do not show my face.
That's like an actual judgment, though. You
Okay,
know,
Dragon,
like
this is literally turned into like a 20-minute side tangent about DoorDash.
Well, I'm trying to get back on point, but you keep talking about DoorDash.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, so hold on. Okay, so point being, anything else you want to say about how cool Sloth is? Like the whole, like, chocolate.
I mean, just functionally, I just think he's a really cool like element of the cast. He's almost kind of like
he's the mascot of the Goonies.
Totally. And then plot wise, I almost feel like he's a little bit of a Deus Ex Machina, but a really cool Deus Ex Machina where he gives the kids the actual physical strength to actually like have a fighting chance against the Fratellis.
But yeah, I mean, look, it's set up though. It's set up so he's able to, like, it's again, he's a walking embodiment of what the Goonies are, but again, he comes from the bad guys. It's this great redemptive thing for Sloth, and it's an act of kindness from a fellow kind of screw up is what is what rewarded the Goonies at the end. I don't know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, we're gonna get there, Little Blue. It hasn't done the bit yet. Little credit. All right. So, where are we going from here? Okay, and meanwhile, subterranean shenanigans ensue.
Indeed.
So we have the production design on this movie is great, by the way.
It is, yeah.
All the shenanigans, all like the cavern. Yeah, I love the logic of we go from a sewer to a cavern and the way it gets to the cavern is like the well. I love the well scene because the well is like this great interim. It's like the point. It's like we're at the threshold. Like we either press on.
It's probably my favorite scene of the movie. I'm not gonna lie. I really love Sean Astin in the scene, like how earnest he is. And I'm not gonna lie, like I did joke about it, but I do genuinely really love the whole like this is our time down here. I wish I could figure out what the whole like you just quoted Goonies, didn't you thing is. But no, on its own, it's a very compelling line, I think.
Oh yeah. I love honestly, here's an underrated thing. Everyone always goes to Sean Astin in that scene. I love Feldman has a really good moment of acting in this scene here where they find all the coins in the wishing well. Initially they think, hey, we found the treasure. It's like, okay, no, it's just these coins are under a wishing well. And says, hey, we can't take these people's wishes. And it says, you're right. But then like mouth holds up like this, like a quarter or something. But you know what? This was my wish. I'm taking it back. If there's a wish that didn't come true, I'm taking it back. I'm taking back all the wishes that didn't come true. It's like
that line in particular,
very poignant.
It always sticks with me, especially considering Corey Feldman's like personal life. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, there's something kind of pathetic about that moment with him and I'm taking back all the wishes. And there's like you can see like the acting there. He's not milking. It's not a funny line. He's just a very genuinely delivered line.
I
love it. So then, Andy's given her moment of her moment of her opportunity for change. Like, okay, Andy, do you want out of because she's freaking out in the subterranean thing of like, oh God, she's
Okay, for some reason I randomly have it in my head that Michael Cera might have been the one who said, "Did you just quote Goonies?" So, God,
is it from This Is the End?
No, I don't know because Michael Cera in that movie is very much not Michael Cera in that movie.
Well,
I don't know. I need to figure it out. Okay, anyone in the comments because I brought it up at the start, but I think Code Geass was the only one here at first. Superbad, maybe. Anyone in the comments remember like there's this bit, and I can't remember, but it's basically like there's a character that's essentially being like, "This is our time down here," and then another character responds with, "Did you just quote Goonies?" And for the life of me, I can't fucking figure out what it is. When I Google, "Did you just quote Goonies?" into Google, it just pops up with Goonies quotes. So it's driving me crazy. If anyone in the comments could tell me what that's from, I'd very much appreciate it. Anyways. Okay, yes, Dragon, let's move on. Oh, it's Superbad? It's Superbad? Really? Okay, cool. Good to know. All right. Mystery solved. I knew it was Michael Cera.
The point being, so Troy is honestly, here's a gag I always really liked. I love it when they're in the well, and like Troy, like he makes a wish at the well, like ironically to make it with Andy, and the coin just flips back out into his hand. I love that joke so much.
Mm-hmm.
Just great timing on that. They're just like, nope, universe doesn't let Brolin will not allow it. Which is good because Troy's a big old jerk, and anyway, so she instead of like going up in the bucket, she puts his sweater there, and then Andy, you Goonie.
Right, that's a great that's a really satisfying character moment, man.
Yeah.
I also really like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. He might pop up briefly at the end, but that is the last time we see Troy.
No, well, you're right. Here's the thing: we had three. We saw Troy was. I want to say Troy was in his workout gear earlier. Like when they were messing with all the pipes, he got the toilet. Threw him blasted him to the ceiling. That was Troy like working out. And later on, we had the well. And then later on, at the end of the movie, he pops up at the very end, like kind of like with his father.
But yeah, I do like that. Generally speaking, the whole like "you Goonie," that's like that's like the moment where he ceases to be a threat in the movie, and I think that's very satisfying.
Oh yeah. So let's see. So we have a bunch of booby traps and indie shenanigans. Like we have boulders up the wazoo and rocks and like all these traps. It basically confirmed that One Eye Willie was a real thing, even though we haven't seen him yet. Because who else would set up this stuff? Like the pipes is one thing, but everything else.
I love the logic. I love the total logic of like, yeah, if there wasn't something really valuable down here, we wouldn't have all these booby traps.
Yep, and again, Mikey's making a point here, like, hey, we made it further than I always want to say cobblepot, but copper pot.
Right.
Chester, especially with Chester, because
exactly.
Penguin's middle name's Chesterfield, so that's what drives me nuts about this movie every time I watch it, because they find the dead body of the explorer guy. They confirm it's him. Anyway, so again, so much death. So, no, you're right. You're right. It was a bloodthirsty time.
Right.
Yep. And we just killed everyone with dinosaurs in the 90s.
Yep.
Okay, so again, a lot of tributes to Rube Goldberg. We have Data brandishing a number of really cool gadgets. We've got the boxing glove. We have the blinders that run low on batteries. We got the suction cup launcher, and we have my favorite, the chatter teeth grappling line. Yeah. Anyway, so let's see. Then we have like during the bathroom break scene, Andy kisses the wrong Walsh brother in the dark.
What do you think of this bit? Because I don't really think this running bit plays very. I don't know. I think it's a little bit weird. I don't want to say it's like outdated. I just think it's weird. I just think it's kind of awkward.
I mean, I think we're just giving a Goonie a win here. I think that's what the gag really is. It's like, okay, we're just everyone's expecting. Okay, Bran's gonna kiss the girl, and we do it later on, but it's like a subversion to all Bran wants to do in this play. He just wants to kiss the girl.
I guess on some level, we do establish that that Mike does have a crush on the girl as well. Like he's very, he's always like the whole bit of like, oh, this is really dangerous, so you should hold my hand. Like that stuff. Like you can tell.
I kind of read it as that was just him being earnest. I didn't think he actually had eyes for the girl until I think
I don't know. I like that you can kind of read it either way.
I honestly, the way I always read it was, he was just being nice and earnest, and then like the kiss is like kind of like, oh, I'm starting to know this girl's now.
Right.
That's how I read it, but ultimately as a subversion for Bran's eventually gonna do this kiss, but we're just gonna throw a little surprise there, like okay, and much to Steph's amusement.
I love how abused Steph is by that. Yeah,
like she's seeing and the fact that Andy doesn't really find out till later.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I didn't know Bran had braces. It's a good joke. My favorite detail is like we see like the legs going limp on the kid.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so we have like the skull key, and then we have if you one of the best booby traps that we had was the organ.
the organ is definitely a big standout set piece for sure.
Yeah.
There's a ride at Knott's Berry Farm, the Calico Mine ride, and one of my favorite scenes in that ride, because it feels so much like the old Nature's Wonderland ride, is the natural pipe organ, where it's essentially like this big like system of stalagmites and stalactites that form like, you know, the shape of an organ, and then you hear like organ music playing, and that definitely came to mind for me when I was seeing this scene.
Yeah, I mean, I love the tension. Plus, you have like the Fratellis are catching up to him at this point, and it's like, oh gosh, he's got to play the right note. And then we have the whole Goonies never. Well, earlier, I think we had Goonies never die.
Sure.
But you know, here though we have like the whole thing of like, you know, it's a Goonies always mess up. It's just whatever happens, don't Goonies always make mistakes. Just don't make one now, or else we'll never get Infinity War.
God.
All right, let's see. So, because we almost kill off Brand. Okay, so we the reveal of the ship. We find the ship again. So again, Tiki, this ship is completely practical, as in it's the set on that ship that you see is on that ship, and when you see that ship revealed, like it's fully built up like to scale and everything. It's an actual functional pirate ship.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, I think you can basically tell. I mean, that is the great thing about 80s movies, Dragon, is that they needed to. A lot of the times they went practical just out of absolute necessity, and it really, really pays off on screen.
Let me tell you two really cool things about this ship, okay?
Okay,
one, so Donner kept it under wraps again to get capture on film the full splendor of them reacting to the ship. However, the way the story goes is that he captured that perfectly, but there's one problem. Brolin dropped an F-bomb when in reaction.
Oh, did he really? Oh my god!
So they had to reshoot it.
Oh god!
So they had to do two. They had to do 2 takes. So
that's actually kind of heartbreaking.
Poor Donner after all that time, but still, I mean, look, they were still.
Effort.
I mean, they were still like, you know, shock and awe.
Right.
All right, so the other thing, okay, this is actually heartbreaking. Okay, I'm gonna break your heart now. Okay, so at the end of the shoot, okay, Donner just, you know, he wanted to, you know, they put a lot of effort into this ship and building it and everything. Okay, so he tried selling it, not even looking for a lot of money for it. He just tried selling and see if anyone would buy it. And the mind this is like in '85. He offered it to Disney to maybe put in the theme park for Pirates of the Caribbean or something. He offered it to Disney. Disney did, or any of their movies. They didn't want it. Offered to Universal. They didn't want it.
What the fuck? Okay, if Disney was like, if it was like a couple decades later, you know, they could have used this thing for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. They would have been.
That's what I'm saying. Again, this was like in '85, though. You know. So
Pirates of the Caribbean is a movie? You fool! That'll never work.
There's a lot of jokes. There have always been like urban legends and stuff. And Donner's is very playful in his answers. Like a lot of people say, like, "Wait a minute, did you sell the doubloons to the doubloons in this movie end up in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride?" And you know, he jokes, yes, but he says, you know, it's like a no.
Be funny if John Stamos bought it.
Bought the boat?
Yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately, that would be great. Unfortunately, no. So Tiki, here's where the heartbreaking part comes in, because he could not offload this thing to anybody. It was destroyed. It was destroyed.
Oh God! That is heartbreaking.
However, glimmer of a silver lining. Donner was able to keep the model for the ship.
Yeah. I mean, that's good for him, but like, could you imagine if they still had this ship and it would like they could like use it in a theme park or something? I don't know.
You want to hear something crazier?
Yeah, sure.
Sean Astin, he was given the map. I don't know if it was
cool.
I don't know if it was the only map or if they were like just the main map. What he gives even a map from the movie, probably point being, so he's given a map. his mother threw it out because she just thought it was like a
What?
tattered by
Oh
accident.
my god!
She thought it was like tattered paper. She didn't, she just like she tossed it.
Dude, wow.
Mm.
Freaking heartbreak all over these props.
That's the 80s, folks. This is why there's a collector's market, okay? Because things like this happen.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, okay, so the ship, Tiki. I mean, you're the big swashbuckler. What do you think of all this?
I mean, honestly, I don't really have a ton to add that you can't just like say on screen. I think it's definitely like among the most iconic pirate ships in film, like right up there with like the Black Pearl and the Flying Dutchman from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And frankly, again, the one thing I keep thinking with this ship is how well it would have fit into the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I love the fact that our big third act set piece is essentially like a walk the plank kind of situation.
It feels very much like Peter.
I was going to say Peter Pan. Yeah, you read my mind. Yeah,
it's Peter Pan with mobsters.
Right, which is fun, which is really fun.
Yeah. So let's see. So we have that. Also, I love the little heartfelt moment of like, Mikey thinks he's alone. He kind of tips the hat to One-Eyed Willie, genuinely thanking him. He says like, "How long you guys been standing there?" Brolin has this great delivery. Says, "Long enough, Mikey. Long enough." which is sweet. It's a really nice moment. They're all like, "Yeah, we Mikey says how grateful he is for the adventure and everything." It's really sweet. And I love the detail. And this is great. The fact that the kids, they left enough gold in the scale, like, and they get to save them. It could have been a booby trap. Well, obviously, it was a booby trap. It's the fact that, like, the greed, their lack of greed, is what saved them in this moment. Of like, is what kind of ultimately saves the Goondocks. Their pure hearts in this endeavor of like, no, we leave Willie his share.
Sure. That's really nice. And I love the sentiment of One-Eyed Willie being the original Goonie.
Yeah. So things are going great. It's kind of like the Weason episode of Hey Arnold, and the mobsters show up.
Uh-huh.
So we battled the Fratellis. Had the walk and the plank thing. Brand, he saves Andy, and he gets his kiss.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. Sloth and Chunk, they save the day after they cause a severe traffic accident off screen. Oh, by the way, so there was in the water. There was this deleted octopus sequence that was fully shot, but it really extended the run. It didn't need it. Plus the octopus. It was like the octopus scene from Ed Wood. It just didn't look great.
Right. Yeah.
It didn't photograph well. It was like, why is there an octopus here? It's like the idea is like when they were in the water, there were stakes. Like Data's like saved them from. They mentioned, however, they mentioned in the movie. They mentioned like we saw an octopus. Like we the audience didn't see that scene because they cut it out. But that's what he's talking about. All right, so so Sloth and Chunk, they save the day, and Sloth he becomes Super Sloth.
Yep. The original Iron Giant, bro.
Yes. So this was an awesome moment. He tears open the shirt, and we see the
Dragon. I got to admit, like rewatching this thing, I totally did not know this was coming, and I was just like, oh, Dragon is gonna eat this the hell up.
Love it. Yeah. I still love it. It's like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyone can be Superman. Yeah.
Anyone can cook. Yeah.
So again, I just love the brothers who are so screwed. They're trying to throw each other under the bus. Like, we're gonna get your teeth fixed. Spent it on a toupee. Then of course Ma. So again, Ma, by the way, played by the wonderful Anne Ramsey from Throwing Mama from the Train. I mean, you've seen that one, right?
I have not.
Oh, you got to see that one, man.
I'll put it on my list.
Yep. So, point being, Anne Ramsey, that was her iconic role. She didn't last many years after this, but I think Throw Mom from the Train was probably, I don't know if that was before or after this, because that was probably one of her last movies. Well, I mean, she found, it was like Rodney Dangerfield. She got roles like in kind of her older age before she, really did, that's where all the iconic roles came from. She's even in Freakazoid. basically playing herself. She's playing the Mrs. Lift character from
nice.
Throw a Mama from the Train, which is great. She plays such a great villain in Throw a Mama from the Train. By the way, she's both victim and villain hilariously because she's the mama in question, but she's such a villain. So she's like, trying to soothe Sloth and trying to get on his good side, and she mentions, like Rockabye Baby, and of course, like, falls. I only dropped you one time.
Right.
So the origin for Sloth. Yeah, again, kids, this is why you have to be careful when you're holding a baby, or else you'll get sloth.
I don't really buy that, though, honestly.
No, but
it's gotta be a birth defect, right? I mean, maybe dropping him caused him to be mentally not there. But
well, honestly, Tiki, I think specifically, I think it's why his head's misshapen, because babies at a very early age, the heads are very soft and malleable, so you got to be careful. So I mean, there's a chance that one drop, obviously maybe not to this cinematic
extreme, dude. That's an
I'm saying the actual logic of the heads in a very early age being soft and supple, but I mean, pushed to the extreme in this case. Sure. I'm just saying, if you want to add like a logic to why he looks like Jason, but why it looks very Mongoloid-esque, it would be, very, very Jason. Sloth is like the family-friendly version of Jason. Let's be honest.
Definitely, as far as visuals, yes.
If Jason had a redemption, it would be Sloth.
Oh my god! What if Jason just is Sloth?
He's the gritty reboot version of Sloth. Oh god! See, had Sloth befriended Mouth instead of Chunk, would have become Jason.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that. Tommy Jarvis, the character Corey Feldman played, he basically was kind of like Jason's, like, he kind of befriended Jason somewhat.
I have not really, I don't know if I've ever actually sat through a Friday the 13th movie besides Jason X, of course.
When I say befriend, I mean he kind of got the drop on Jason by pretending to be his friend for a moment, but the idea was like he came up with the idea, I'm going to look like Jason in the last moments to put him off his guard, then I'm going to kill him with a machete.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway. Okay, point being, we drop Ma in the water like the rest of them. They get greedy, they take the treasure, which then activates the precautionary measure of, like, the boat sails outward. We have this beautiful ending where they're all on the beach. They're found by the beach cops, including Richard Donner in a cameo.
Yep. I knew about that. That was fun.
Yeah, so the families are reunited against some of the real-life families, mostly actors, but some families.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's everyone's reunited, and then we have just Troy's Mr. Perkins, that prick, just shows up, is like, hey, just right now, of all the times, Perkins, really now on the beach, sign.
Right.
And also we have to talk about Data, sorry, real quick before that, Data's dad. So Data's dad shows up and he's trying to take a picture.
I mean, I feel like we pretty much already said what we need to say about him. He's adorable. He's got just a very magnetic screen presence and the minute of screen time he has.
His line is beautiful. The whole you're my greatest invention to his son.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's
that is
so nice.
Like the son's like, oh, don't worry, Dad, you'll get it next time. You are my greatest.
Seriously, I want a whole fucking spin-off movie with Data and his dad. Seriously.
I mean, let's do the revival of that, where it's like Data thinking fondly back to his father.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so again, we have the big sign. Perkins wants in the sign, and then our Spanish housekeeper.
I love that this character comes in for the clutch at the end. That she's not just that, to me, is kind of what redeems the kind of culturally questionable stuff that we get with her. As funny as
she saves the day.
She does absolutely save the day. I love that.
It was interesting. Originally, the movie, I don't know if they shot it both ways or not, but originally the movie was going to end at the house when all this happens. But ending on the beach, I think, was such a great call for because we could do the boat shot at the end. So it just,
of course.
Again, you have to question why is everyone there? But again, they called the parents and everything, so the families are there. Why is everyone and Ann Perkins there? It's a question, but it doesn't matter.
Care.
We don't care.
This movie has a lot of we don't care.
So in the bag of marbles, and again, of all the things, the bag of marbles, they have a number of gems that did survive, and they can save the Goondocks. The Goondocks are saved. They're the saints of Goondocks.
Right.
Goondock saints, one could say.
The many saints of Goondocks.
Yeah, there you go. The many saints of
franchise crossover right there.
They woke up this morning and all that. Okay, so
Right. All
so
right.
everyone and of course everyone's like questioning. Okay, they think Chunk's making up the whole thing, but the pirate ship. And I love how Chunk protects Sloth with the Domino's box. He was like, no, they're the bad guys. He's the good guy.
Right.
And also the whole the impractical but wonderful promise, Sloth, you're living with us.
I don't know. I'd like to think that they make good on that. You don't know. You don't know that they didn't.
I believe that they did. I'm just saying, Jeff Cohen, I think is he's speculating. He thinks that sorry, not Jeff Cohen. In the novelization of the movie, in the Peter David-esque novelization.
Oh my God, yes.
In the novelization of the movie, apparently there's a line about they did make good on the promise, and Sloth, Sloth actually they're talking about giving Sloth a bar mitzvah.
Oh my God, that's great.
Hilarious. So anyway, so everyone, everyone's kind of questioning things, and they see the ship sail away, and it's this great kind of moment of whimsy.
Yeah. Awesome final shot.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's about it. Really quick, I have one last thing to add with John Kelling. He says, "What is with parents just going in and randomly tossing out their kids' stuff?" John Kelling, when I was 10 years old, I had a whole ass collection of Super Nintendo games. And we're talking I had all the Mario games, all the Donkey Kong games, and even rare stuff, even stuff like Pocky and Rocky that's genuinely rare games now. And my grandpa just decided to give it to the neighbor kids one day. And that was that. And I still give my grandpa shit about it.
Oh,
so, yes.
Yeah, I had some. There's still. Honestly, I pretty much have my Game Boy Advance games. There are a few that are missing, which unfortunately, I don't know what the heck happened to them. I'm convinced, my mother used to get rid of stuff and always drove me nuts. It was little things here and there, but it's the one. The games I was referring to, they had these two Pokemon games that I was oh man, because now of course they're really hard to come by. But it's I can only get copies now. For example, I got the Pikachu yellow one, but it's a copy, and I'm just the validity of it. But anyway, my point is the other one here's the one that always hurt me. Okay, I had has a happy ending. It's all good, but I had this Batwing from Batman the Animated Series.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I still had the Batmobile and had the Batwing as I was getting all the vehicles, and it was she got rid of the Batwing. They crushed me, so I found years later in the advent of eBay, I replaced that Batwing, and then of course in adulthood when they finally before DC Direct went out of business, they made all the to scale basically all the animated series toys I wanted as a kid that were perfect in every way, and they made a Batwing. It was I have to get that Batwing, even though I replaced the Batwing in my childhood. So I have two Batwings.
Nice. Okay, so yeah, final thoughts, Dragon. What do you got?
Final thoughts. I mean, look, the Goonies is a classic for a reason. It's 40 years going strong, getting a sequel. It's again, it's impacted the medium so strongly. You got Skeleton Crew, you got Stranger Things. Stranger Things owes everything to the Goonies. Let's be honest, because basically Stranger Things, the Goonies, and E.T. had a baby. The baby of Stranger Things.
I mean, a little bit of it, but yeah, those two for sure are the big prominent ones.
Well, you're right. It's good. It's a good call. I'm trying to divide the seasons up here, but I guess collectively, yes, it's all those things. I was thinking more like season one, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Point being, it's the Goonies it defined pop culture. I will always respect it for that. I mean, is it Back to the Future? Is it E.T.? No. But again, it doesn't. It adds flavor though. This is the young. This is kind of the Breakfast Club for kids. It wasn't the teen John Hughes. But again, this was the age, the more kind of all ages version of the Breakfast Club. It's the lovable lose. This is the definitive take on the lovable losers. You know.
Absolutely.
It's enduring, and again, it's just this wonderful collaboration between Spielberg bringing kind of the spirit of movie he would like to make, but not want to kill himself making, and just give it to foist it on to good old Richard Donner just to work his magic and make it and just kind of make it a staple of pop culture as he's done so many times. Like the staples of the magazine of life that is pop culture. There's one staple, Superman, another staple, Lethal Weapon, another staple, Goonies, another staple, The Omen. Done. Happy reading.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think this is like one of the most seminal movies of the 80s. I agree with you. Like, it's not E.T. I wouldn't even say it's Stand By Me, although Stand By Me is kind of its own thing. But I do put it kind of in the upper echelon of 80s films, especially 80s live action kids films. I think, like, honestly, outside of E.T., this might be one of my favorite ones. Like, because obviously Back to the Future is its own thing. That's a bit more of a, like, kids can watch Back to the Future, but that franchise is a bit more adult orientated. I think the Breakfast Club for kids mixed with that kind of like Indiana Jones quality. It's just a really, really good kind of like blending of different elements and styles, and the characters all work. The cast is fantastic. It's one of the few pieces of 80s media that I would be genuinely excited to see a legacy sequel for. So yeah, definitely a big standout for sure. All right. Well, guys, this has been a great time in the comments, I gotta say. This has been one of the more lively comment sections that we've had in a minute here. So Code Geass mostly popped up at the beginning. And then we have, of course, the last John Kelling of Krypton, Little Blue, and Richard's Victims. You guys are all great. You guys made for a really colorful podcast. I love it. I love the random side tangent on the ice cream. That was fun. And yeah, indeed, Goonies forever. Goonies never say die. And unlimited refills. Have a good night, everyone.